Someone once made me the most disgusting cup of tea. But I drank the whole thing and then thanked them for it. It wasn't just me being polite. It was because I couldn't face the alternative, telling them to their face something critical about the cup of tea they made. That same silence is the one that British people use for everything. And it means that if you have spent any time in this country at all, there was somebody who was perfectly lovely to your face, but who was thinking something else entirely. Today, I am going to share with you 15 potential circumstances in which this might have happened. There is one thing on this list that I do myself all the time. I think you might judge me. Right, before I give you any of the 15, you need the tell. Because the judgment is the easy part, spotting it is the skill. The first tell. What you'll get is a small sound made behind the front teeth with the tongue. Like that. Sometimes with a sigh. That's a tut. You can use it as a verb. So you might say, oh, he tutted at me. And honestly, if someone British tuts at you, you've done something fairly serious by our standards. The other tell is the look, which you will be familiar with if you have ever been on the London Underground. It is the, you're doing something to annoy me, but I would rather die than tell you, look. Keep an eye out for both the look and the tut, because that is the only warning you will ever get. Right, let's get through these. The first one, and I'm starting with this because it's the one that nobody warns you about, sitting too close to someone when there are other seats free. If a train carriage is mostly empty and you sit directly next to a stranger, you have broken something. The rule, unwritten obviously, is that you take a seat furthest from them, even if they look nice. And then the next person does the same, and the person after that, until you're all like magnets repelling each other from other sides of the train carriage. The strange bit though, and the bit that I love, is that when the train is packed, all of that goes out of the window. We will sit cramped next to a stranger for 40 minutes completely happily because now there's a reason for it. The thing that's strange is when there is no reason for it. If you ever do need someone to shift along and make room a bit, a good informal phrase for this is to budge up. My friend is on a bench and I want them to move. Could you budge up a bit? Number 2, queue jumping. Jumping the queue. Everyone knows about this one. It's notorious, so I'm not going to labor it. I have mentioned it a number of times on this channel before, but the part worth seeing is what happens after the queue jump. Because nobody says anything, they all just look. Every single person, all at once, at the back of this person's head. The person who jumped the queue. Occasionally, someone does speak up and say something like, there's a queue here, you know, and that person for about 20 seconds becomes everyone else's hero. But more often than not, nobody says anything, just a lot of very cross people being extremely polite. 3, being late and not apologizing for it. Now, being late is fine. Being late is survivable. What isn't survivable is being very late and then saying nothing at all about it, acting as though nothing has happened, because the apologizing is part of the transaction. And it doesn't even need to be sincere. We're not looking for sincerity. We're just looking for acknowledgement. Acknowledgement that you inconvenienced us by being late. I, unfortunately, am late to many things, and I survive it by apologizing profusely when I arrive. 4, volume. Speaking too loudly on a train, public transport, in a cafe, restaurant, anywhere really. And I know that's a generalization, and I know other countries have a different normal volume, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the British instinct is to take up slightly less space than you are entitled to in public, and that includes acoustically. There's a lovely expression for the whole attitude, which is to keep yourself to yourself. Oh, she kept herself to herself. It's often meant as a compliment, and that tells you so much about us. Number 5, answering how are you honestly. This one catches so many people out, and I do feel for them because it looks like a question, but it isn't a question. It is a greeting wearing a question's clothing. And the correct response is always something like, oh, good, thanks, you, or not too bad, thanks, you. At which point the other person also replies, yeah, good, thanks. And the ritual is complete, and everybody now proceed with their day. If you actually tell a British person how you are, and you answer honestly, especially if you tell them something difficult, you'll watch panic flicker across their face while they try to figure out what on earth to do with that. Which leads quite nicely into 6, oversharing with a stranger. There is a warmth in a lot of cultures where you might tell the stranger you're sitting next to you on a bus about the divorce you're going through and really struggling with. And as I said, there's a real warmth about that, about trusting someone with that. But in the UK, that same conversation would be not unwelcome, just alarming. It's not the sort of thing we do. We don't overshare with strangers unless we've had too much to drink. Again, that's a topic for another video. But yes, generally, we don't overshare about our personal life with strangers. 7, wearing your shoes inside somebody else's house. Now, we don't have a firm national rule about this, which is precisely what makes it so difficult, because you have to read the room. Some people are fine with others wearing shoes in their house, others aren't. The safest thing to always do when you enter someone's house is to start taking your shoes off. Because if they are fine with it, they will, within a few seconds, jump in and say something like, oh no, don't bother taking your shoes off, it's fine. Or don't worry about your shoes, we have a dog. But if they don't stop you, then congratulations, because you've just avoided something quite awkward, which would mean them either asking you to take your shoes off or being secretly annoyed that you didn't. Right. Let's go faster for a moment, because there are 2 here that you might break without ever knowing that you've broken them. 8, especially in London, standing on the wrong side of the escalator. In this case, on the left side of the escalator. You stand on the right, you walk on the left. There are signs every meter or so telling you to do this, which is why it makes it so frustrating. Again, I mentioned that in this video. In London especially, avoid that. And number 9, not saying thank you to the bus driver. As you get off, just say a quick cheers or thanks to the driver. You don't have to shout it, but many people do. They'll acknowledge it. And then if a whole group do it and one person doesn't, then that gets noticed. That also applies to any scenario where many people are thanking one person. Are you still with me? The next ones are less about behavior and more about language, and they're the harder ones. Let me know in the comments which, if any of these, you have been judged for, and be honest, because I am about to be, embarrassingly. Number 10, not offering tea. Generally, if someone comes into your house, you offer them a hot drink, and you do it more or less before they've got their coat off. Not because you automatically think they want one, that's not the point at all. The point is the offering. There is something about someone coming into your home and being a gracious host or hostess that includes making them feel comfortable, offering them a cup of tea. For example, my grandmother would offer tea to the man who came to read the electricity meter. He'd be in the house 90 seconds, it didn't matter. She would still offer. 11 is the same rule pointed the other way, and it catches people out often. When you're being the one offered something, the first refusal doesn't really count. Generally, if a British person offers you the last biscuit and you say something like, oh no, I shouldn't, you have it, they will offer again. The second offer is the real one, and that's the one you should say yes to. They'll say, oh no, go on, don't be silly, something like that. If you take it on the first one, you haven't done anything terrible. Obviously, they've offered you the biscuit. It's just sometimes you've almost skipped a step, a silly step, but a step. Now, I said at the start, there's one of these I've been guilty of recently, and I've been putting it off, but I'm going to tell you now. This is so embarrassing. I sit here explaining this as though I am an objective observer watching British culture and noticing how we behave, but I'm just as guilty of these as anyone. It's not really one of the 15, it's about the tell. Last month, I tutted in a shop over something so minor, I don't even remember what it was, and I just did it all automatically. I think their trolley was blocking where I was trying to get to, and I was in a hurry and probably a bit grumpy. Anyway, I tutted and they turned around and looked at me. And so I turned that tut into a cough. Yes, I committed to a full coughing fit right there in the supermarket rather than have an awkward conversation with this person about moving their trolley. I'm not above any of this. 12, and this one's quick, is taking the last of something before offering it around and seeing if someone else wants it first, which is the biscuit rule with the manners taken out. So just taking the last biscuit, not asking if anyone else wants it first. 13, being overly enthusiastic about your own achievements. This one is genuinely a problem, I think, and I don't fully defend it because I have students from plenty of cultures where speaking enthusiastically about your own achievements is celebrated and encouraged. In their own culture, they are expected to state explicitly what they are good at, but they come here to the UK and then they get judged for that. And that's not really fair. But if you tell a room full of British people that you are exceptional at your job, that you're really good, you're the best at what you do, it just won't land that well. The way we do it instead is to bury it. Oh, I sort of fell into it, really. I've been quite lucky, actually. The achievement is still there. It's just wrapped in modesty, because as I've said, we value modesty. And so the same goes for number 14, which is compliments, how we receive compliments. If someone tells you you look nice today, you don't say something like, I know. Sometimes you might not even say, thank you. Normally, you respond with something quite self-deprecating. For example, oh, you look nice today. Oh, thanks. Probably because I finally managed to get 7 hours sleep, or something like that. Sometimes accepting a compliment too eagerly, too enthusiastically, seems to us slightly boastful. And yes, I do know how mad that sounds. This is quite a difference between Americans and British people, because British people tend to be much more self-deprecating, whereas if you tell an American they look nice, they will just say, oh, great, thanks. And that's fine, but that's just not the way we do it. And 15, asking someone what they earn or how much their house cost. Talking about money here is a real taboo, far more than any other things that people might assume. And so if you ask bluntly how much someone earns or how much they paid for their house, you will find them changing the subject quite quickly. They will change the subject with a slightly brighter voice than they were using before, and that slightly fake brighter voice is another tell, along with the tut and the look. The thing that ties all 15 of them together, if there is something, is that none of them will be said to your face. What you'll get instead is the tut, or the look, or that pause that goes on for slightly too long. And there's one phrase I want to leave you with because it explains more about British people than anything else on this list. And that is, I don't want to make a fuss. I don't want to make a fuss. To make a fuss is to draw attention to a problem. And most of us would genuinely rather sit next to an open window too cold, or eat a meal that we didn't order, or drink that dreadful cup of tea rather than make a fuss. The good news is, and I do mean this, that you're not expected to get all of it right. Often, nobody thinks you should have known. Tourists get quite a lot of leeway here, more than Brits give each other. So the worst that will happen is a small, silent moment that you'll never find out about. But now you've been warned, and now you know. I hope you've got a nice afternoon ahead of you, or a nice morning or evening wherever you are. There's a free PDF below with the phrases from today if you would like them written down. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.